wanting to experience more, and knowing that we're not meant to do this alone.
Welcome, everyone. We are in episode 19, rolling right along of Chronicles of the High Power Female CEO. And I'm so honored today to have with us Estelle. Estelle, thank you for being here.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm very excited to chat with you today.
Tell us who you are and how people typically know you.
Okay, so my name is Estelle Keeber. I am one of the UK's leading Instagram experts and founder of Immortal Monkey. Most people will know me for helping 132 women become Amazon best-selling authors and for creating the world's fastest growing network for women in the world, which has now led me on to do lots of other incredible things. I have been featured in Forbes, Psychology's magazine, on the BBC, ITV News. There are, just so many different places. It's mind-blowing to think the impact that I've been able to have really just using social media. So it's been a crazy journey over the last sort of 7 or 8 years. And now it's, my opportunity to be able to share what I've achieved with as many people as possible and hopefully inspire them to reach out and reach for their dreams as well.
I love that so much. And tell us too, so the audience knows where you're tuning in from.
Okay, so I am here in the UK. I'm in the East Midlands. It's very cold and windy here today. And my 2 little boys, who I'm sure we're going to talk about, are upstairs. They are very chilled tonight, actually, if I'm honest. Oh, and there's my dog in the background. So, if it's not the kids, it's the dog, as, you guys will probably totally understand. One of the challenges that we have is not just, being present in the workplace, it's trying to juggle everything else as well. So yeah, I am not just a business owner, not just one of the UK's leading Instagram experts, but also mum to my 2 amazing little boys, and dog mum too.
Yay! Okay, I'm so excited to dive in. I like to get all the accolades and things out of the way so that we can dive into the heart. And, you brought up your little boys. And one of the things that really resonated with you when we spoke was how you have felt judged as a mother. Do you want to just go right into that?
It never stops. I think from the minute you give birth, and now my sons are 11 and 13, I don't think it's ever stopped, from whether you are, a brand new mum. So when I was a brand new mum to my first son, that feeling of being watched, not knowing if you're doing the right thing, right the way through to going back to work. It's such a struggle for women. And I know that men struggle with, going to work and managing children as well. But I think for women, there is so much pressure put upon our shoulders to be able to have it all. If we go back sort of 20 or 30 years, women were not expected, nor, kind of encouraged to do both. It was either, in fact, it wasn't really you either. Most women were at home whilst men went out. They were the ones that were financially supporting you. Whereas now, and, the economy that we're living in, a lot of women don't have that choice. And even when they do have that choice, they find that they need a little bit more in their lives, aside from just being a mother or just being a wife. And even then, when you're trying to do it all, you still feel judged. And I heard a really amazing quote a couple of days ago. And it was about the fact that, you are looked upon as a mother that works, that you should be, totally 100% into, what you're doing at home with your children. And when you're working, you're supposed to be 100% that. You can't be 100% everywhere. It doesn't matter how, how amazing you are. There is only one of you. And so you can't work like you have no children, and you can't have your children like you don't work, because you have to try and manage it all. We all only have the same 24 hours. So that, fear of being judged, and especially I'm a single parent, so I feel that that judgment is even harsher for me, because I don't have anyone else there to take the reins, or to say, I'm going to go and do this with the kids tonight. You can go and do this. So I'm constantly on the go. And I think that mum guilt, and I think even, mums out there that have, father figures around will still understand that guilt of, where does the balance come? And I think that is something that, even though I've been in business now for 8 or 9 years, it's still something that I really, really struggle with. And I think it doesn't matter what sort of point you get to or what level you get to within your career, there is always going to be that guilt as to whether, you are not spending enough time with your children, or if you're not spending enough time with your business. And if there is anybody out there watching this or listening to this that feels that they have the perfect balance, then I would love to hear from them, because I think we all kind of find a happy medium at times. But do we have it all figured out all of the time and have a perfect balance? I don't think any of us actually do. And for me, speaking out and saying that out loud will hopefully, give other women a little bit of a sense of relief that they are not the only ones that are going through this, that are beating themselves up, that are thinking, I've got this whole long to-do list. We were just chatting about my holiday. My to-do list is ginormous, but it's all about prioritizing. And for me, that's what it's about, in, avoiding this judgment or the feeling of judgment. For me now, it's about prioritizing what is most important for me, but not what's most important just for me, but for my children as well. So it's about taking a holistic approach, I think, and kind of looking at it as a whole. You're never going to be 100% happy in all of the things. So it's just about finding that happy medium, I think.
I love that, because, you're absolutely right about the differences with men and women, because I would just wager to say how few people have probably looked at your business and said to you, look at what you've created for your children. But if it was a man who had built this business, that's what they would say. Look at what a good father you are. But there's not that correlation. And I just can't help but think, okay, here you were 11 and 13 years ago. And for any mom, those are like the best days of your life. You have your new little baby in your arms. And I'm guessing you had no idea that you'd be doing that alone. And probably didn't have a clue that you were going to launch this big old social media business. I'd love to hear more about what that was like for you, of, kind of going, oh, I am going to do this alone. And I'm also not just going to go get some piddly little job on the side over here. I'm going to go big, and we're going to thrive. I want to hear how that was for you.
Yeah, it's a really amazing story. But like you said, it didn't happen overnight. So when I separated from my children's dad, I was at probably the lowest point that I'd ever been at. So I had very little family support, very little financial support. The government sort of benefits that I was entitled to were, I think at one point I was getting £34 a week, which I don't know, for you guys in dollars, but it's not a lot. It is you couldn't, I don't even know what to compare it to, but it's, it is not a lot. It's barely enough to buy food, let alone to pay bills, to pay rent, to make sure your kids have the right things. And it was that point of hitting rock bottom, of having to go and rely on food banks, that I realized there is nobody that's going to help me here. The government that was supposed to be there to help people in my situation, they were not there to help me. I didn't have anyone that was going to come riding along on his horse and, whisk me up and save me. It was actually really down to me. And it was such a struggle to start with, because I couldn't find a job that fit in around my children going to school, or that paid me enough to be able to leave them for me to be able to go to work. And it was at that point that I thought, how can I make this work? And so I had done a photography qualification as part of my therapy after having a really difficult pregnancy with my second son. I suffered postnatal depression, and I went to creative therapies. And the one thing that really interested me was photography. So I did 3 years at college as an adult student and went on to qualify to teach. So that was something I was really passionate about. So I thought, right, I'm going to do that. I'm going to see what I can do. I'm going to be a photographer. Had absolutely no idea about business at all. But I tell you, I was not gonna fail. I was not gonna give up, and I had more passion than you could believe. Probably more passion than sense at that point. But I still ran with it, and it was at that point I started to realize the power of social media, and not only the power of social media. At the same time, I was realizing how lonely it was to be self-employed and to run your own business. So I started a Facebook group, and other mums joined, and we would talk about the fact that it was incredibly lonely and very hard to learn all of the things that we needed to learn as business owners. Because, I went into business because I had a passion for photography, not because I had a background in business. And that seems to be, a very common thread that goes through lots of women in business, that they had this passion, didn't actually know about business, and have learned it along the way. So I found that there were a lot of women out there that were feeling exactly the same as I was. And the group that I started on Facebook blew up to over 55,000 members in the space of 2 years. It enabled me to help, hundreds of thousands of other women in understanding how to start a business, how to use social media. It enabled me to connect with women that, were the other side of the globe, which was insane to think that, no matter where these women were, we were all so similar and so alike and had so many things in common that we could relate to each other, and we were hundreds of thousands of miles away. So that's when I really started to take advantage of social media, I guess, and really use it as the most amazing marketing tool that we have at our fingertips. It is totally free. And that enabled me to, reach out to other people. It meant that I could speak internationally and share my story to, audiences of thousands of people. And this all came from, being at rock bottom and realizing there is no one there to save me. And I know that there are women out there now that are probably either at that point and are thinking, what do I do with my life? I talk to those women all the time. My inbox is full, but then right the way through to, women who are running extremely successful businesses, but are still feeling incredibly lonely and that they're going through this on their own. And it blows my mind to think that, over the space of the last 10 years, the amount of different women from different backgrounds that can really relate to my story, whether, they're at the beginning of their journey, if they're, partway through, everybody is able to take something from what I say. And I think that's because as women in business, we can all relate. Maybe we don't talk about it as often as we should because, we have to put this I am strong sort of attitude on social media out to our audience. I'm a badass, I'm running my company and I can do it all. And I think sometimes we're quite scared to actually say, it's actually not going as well as it could be. And, how do people know that you need their support if you're not going to speak about it? And I think this is the beauty of, what you're sharing is we need to have more conversations, and more women need to realize that they don't have to go through this on their own, that, they are not, somebody that's going through this. Everybody is going through their own struggle, but at the same time, there are lots of struggles that we're all going through together. We just are totally unaware of.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Gosh, I love that. the this idea too that you look at a wealthy, successful businesswoman who's also a mother, or who also is devoted to her family, and you think, oh, she must have figured something out that I haven't figured out yet. But really, I so appreciate your vulnerability and sharing that, because really it's like, no matter what you've created, there's still, as you said before, this struggle of like, am I giving enough to my kids? Am I giving enough to my business and to the community I've built? And are we making the numbers? Are we like, there's all of that, and am I able to support the teams? And it can be so much, and absolutely can be really scary. And then it's like, I can't show anybody that this is terrifying. It's just terrifying. That's one of the main intentions for having this interview series. And you had said, now that let's say there's no such thing as arriving, right? But let's say now you have created this success. You've been doing this for 8 or 9 years, and you've created a lot of success and a name for yourself, even on social media, a place where it seems like it can be really challenging to be authentic, or maybe a more polished or refined authenticity is kind of like really what people want, right? And yet you're showing up here so authentic. What would you say that you were surprised about the top feeling as it feels? What surprised you about that?
I can tell you, from going from a background where I had very little, and like I mentioned earlier, there was a time when I had to rely on food banks. I thought that being at the top would solve all of my problems. I thought that having a certain amount of money would solve my problems. However, it didn't. And I think, again, yes, having more financial freedom allows you to have more choices. However, I think it's those things that we can't buy, that money can't buy, are the most precious. The friends that are by our sides through good and bad. The moments with our kids where, it's the most irrelevant, silliest thing that they come out with and say, that kind of stuff, you can't buy that. It's those moments that make you realize what really is important. And don't get me wrong, financial freedom is amazing. However, if you are striving for that financial freedom because you think it's going to give you other things, I think you need to think very carefully about what's important to you. Sometimes we can get caught up, like you said, in the numbers and, the things that make us feel successful, when I think really what makes us successful, I think, is inside. It's something that kind of sits with us. It's not a number. It's not, an amount of money. There's something that's inside all of us that will make us feel that we have become successful. And for me, it was, my kids seeing me work hard, and, to be able to have the things that we couldn't have before. For me, that was, letting them see me achieve things and allowing them to see that anything is possible. That is success for me. For me to be able to share my story and inspire other people, that is success for me. There's no financial gain there at all. Those things that I've just talked about, there's no financial gain for at all. Yet they all, to me, mean that I feel successful. I feel successful as a mum. I feel successful as an entrepreneur. And I think, and like I just said, that neither of those are linked to finance. So, I think we need to kind of step back a little bit sometimes and step away from what other people think is successful. You mentioned then, about social media and authenticity, and, do we actually see the real version? And I hate the word authentic. If you have to say the word authentic, you're not authentic. Like, that's literally how I feel about that word. I don't have to say, hi, I'm Estelle and I'm really authentic. I'm just Estelle. You'll see me, okay, today. For those of you that are actually seeing, you can see I've got a bit of makeup on today. However, the last time we had a chat, Melissa, I didn't look like this. And it's about keeping it real. If you go and have a look at my Instagram, my social media, there's nothing polished about it. There's the times you see me where I'm, ready for an interview, and 95% of the time you get me, as a mom, as a business owner, that's just wanting to, inspire and support as many people as I can.
So good. This conversation has just been so beautiful. And I think, you're pointing to this. I think we all realize this, but it's like deeper and deeper layers that we have to look at and go, what is success for me? Because I think, especially as women, we opened our eyes as a baby and it's like, here's what success is. And you're going to fail, but you better try really hard. And that's so unfair, really being able to step away and go, what is success to me? So I just love how you just define that for us. I want to ask one more question, which I ask all the women that I featured on this show. And this, again, is just an opportunity to get a peek at your heart. What would you say have been some of the most fulfilling moments of your life?
Ooh, fulfilling moments. I guess I have to say having my children. I have to say that because they're upstairs and they could probably hear me. So definitely having my children was the most fulfilling experience of my life. However, I have to say, I got to speak on a stage alongside Michelle Mone and Mel B. Probably I'm going to drop that name in there because most people know the Spice Girls. So being a Brit myself, I was asked to speak at an event where Mel B was speaking. We were both keynote speakers. That for me was an absolutely incredible moment. And it was also, it was the second year that I spoke at an event. The year before that, I shared my first keynote with their audience. And for me, being able to share my story, it was the first time on a really, really big stage. And to see the amount of people that resonated and that understood and that related to my story, and that, they went away feeling the impact and feeling more inspired, and that they could actually go and make positive changes in their business. I think that was pretty fulfilling as well. And I also got to speak on the same stage as a Spice Girl. So that was pretty cool.
That's so cool. I'm going to have to go look that up because I don't know what that is, but it must be.
You will know. Oh my goodness, Melissa, you will know who everybody in the world knows who the Spice Girls are. You just need to go and listen.
Oh, okay. Spice Girls. It was your accent. That's what was getting me. Oh my gosh, a Spice Girl. Oh, I definitely know.
Now you can see why I was so fulfilled by being there. But yes, one of the Spice Girls, Mel B, Scary Spice. I got to speak alongside her.
How amazing. That's so funny. I thought you were saying spy scales. Spice Girls, though. Oh, yeah. People of the world, spice up your life.
Yes, that's the one.
Oh, my gosh. So fun. And it is. And honestly, like, I loved how you're like, it's my kids. And also, I think that we're told it's not allowed to be anything else. And I think that's BS because I know from my personal experience, I love the role of being a mother. I'm so grateful that I get to have these little children that I helped create, and they do fulfill me so much. And I also knew that I was made for more than only that role. I knew, and you knew too. And so it's beautiful. It's wonderful. Like the influence that you are having and that your story is having on the world absolutely should be some of the most fulfilling experiences of your life. So, woohoo! So great, Estelle. Thank you so much for sharing your story with us. You guys, wasn't she wonderful? Share some love with Estelle in the comments, and go give her a follow on Instagram is your main platform, right?
Yeah, you can go find me on Instagram. I am at Estelle Keeber Official is my personal account, or you can check out the business account, which is at Immortal Monkey Official.
Awesome. Thanks, Estelle. Bye, everyone.
Thank you for having me.